Why would you want to have a podcast? Good question, John. Let me tell you why. Because I've got one. Technically, I've got kind of two. The video one isn't available as a video podcast right at this moment, but it will be soon. So you just get the audio version. Marketing for Owners, the podcast. Yeah. So why would you want to have one? Of course, you don't have to have one, but content is king. Everywhere, if you can be everywhere, then people will be able to find you with no excuses. Some people read books, some people watch TV, some people spend all day on the internet, some people use Twitter, some people watch podcasts. They will look up all kinds of subjects because a podcast is easy to listen to. You don't need any time commitment. You can listen to it on your smartphone, you can listen to it at your PC while you're doing something else. You can listen to it in a car, and cars are becoming more internet savvy. Newer cars are being built with inbuilt internet and inbuilt access to smartphones. So Google, with their Android, and people like Stitcher Radio are working with car companies so that podcasts play out of what we used to call the radio. That's not going to be called a radio anymore. So podcasts will become more prevalent. So what could you do? You can teach. You can interview experts. You can do all these things. We've discussed it before. But the reason you would want to have one is to build your expert status. You want people to look at you as an authority in your niche. It doesn't matter whether you're a dry cleaner or a baker or a mechanic. If you want customers to come to you pre-sold and wanting to buy your services or your goods, you will want them to have decided in their minds that you're brilliant at what you do. Does that make sense? Makes sense to me when I came out of my head. So if you're a mechanic, for example, you can give people tips on how to winterize their car in the winter, how to undo that, how to get it ready for the summer, how to protect the paint from, how to use certain polishes to clean and protect the paint from bird poo, whatever. You could tell them how to change the oil, or tips on getting better performance, tips for better light bulbs. I've got to change one of the bulbs in my car. There must be a type that lasts longer than another, but something like that. Now, of course, you're thinking, who on earth would listen to that? You'll be surprised. People will listen from all over the world. You'll also get other mechanics listening. And then you can interview other mechanics on their tips. Work around. Our top 5 tips for today are from guest mechanic so-and-so of blah 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 garage in Eastbourne. I know it might sound ridiculous, but these things always sound ridiculous. But once you've got a few thousand people listening to you every week, and you don't, I wouldn't advise that you do a daily podcast. It's quite a commitment, but you could do one every couple of weeks. Weekly would be best, and of course, if you're going to do one, please make it consistent. Make it on a particular day so people know when to expect it. Don't make it random. That's awful, because people just don't like waiting. They like a bit of consistency. But if you're a baker, baking tips, you don't have to tell them how to bake the stuff that you sell. But why not? But why not tell them how to bake other stuff? People will try to make what you make to your recipe, and then they'll come into your store and try the real thing. You could do it as a video, you could do it as audio. It's not very difficult. What have I got here? I've got an iPhone, I've got a tripod, don't even really need that. I've got a microphone tucked on the front here, but which cost 20 odd quid, this particular one I'm using. But the microphone built into the iPhone is plenty good enough. Then beyond that, you can just upload it. There's plenty of sites where it's free to host. It goes into iTunes, doesn't cost you anything. Bingo. They get a link back to your website, people know where to find you. Build your expert status. Consider having every single type of content that is possible to have. Books, courses, social media, podcasts, YouTube videos, blog. If you have it all, it doesn't have to take you long. I've explained before how to systemize and how to have these things just take up 15 minutes every now and again. If you have it all, people will be able to find you, and they will. Think about it. Not today maybe, but think about it. Add it to the mix. See if it can be done. Talking of podcasts, for when you drive back from work today, or when you drive to work if you listen to this nice and early, how about listening to Ryan Hanley and his Content Warfare podcast? Now, he interviews experts in the content marketing sphere. He interviews people with good books. In fact, I think he's got one out at the moment called, surprisingly, Content Warfare. In his strapline, he mentions about winning the fight for attention. That is clever. There is a lot of noise online, a lot of noise on social. How do you stand out? Ryan's podcast will explain. He's a very clever guy, knows his stuff, and also has really good experts. So Ryan's of a level where people want to get on his show. A worthy podcast, and that may give you ideas for what you could podcast about, because then you can win the war for attention. It's all great ideas. If you want to know how to find it, go to marketingforowners.com/podcast, and all the show notes in every episode and all the videos are there. And if you listen to this on audio, you can see what I look like. Speak to you soon.